of the Dynasty Dogs podcast. I am your host for this evening, Michael Anthony. Rich is not alongside me today. He has a lot to do as being a father, a very busy schedule he's got. But tonight, in the dog house with me is someone I've been talking to on social media for quite a bit of time now. Someone who enjoys the football stylings of RJ Harvey as much as I do. We have Alex Crowe. You can follow him at Alex Crowe FFB on Twitter. Alex, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Mike. I appreciate you having me here. It feels like it's been a long time coming. Like you said, we've been kind of going back and forth on Twitter for a while now. Hyping up RJ Harvey and some other prospects we like. But I'm just happy to be here. I appreciate you having me.
I really appreciate you jumping on with me. We are going to be doing a startup mock here. I believe it is set for 12 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check that. Yes, I do believe it is 12. So let's get into you first before we start this mock. Tell us how you got into Dynasty Fantasy Football in general first.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing fantasy football for a little over a decade now. Started just playing redraft with some buddies, and I think like most people, just kind of craved a little bit more fantasy football. And so I think I got into Dynasty about 5 years ago now, 5 or 6 years ago. And it's just as a football fan, somebody who really enjoys football, enjoys kind of the scouting and film watching process. It's something that I enjoy to do year round, and takes up a lot of my time, but it's something I'm also passionate about. And I love hearing other people's inputs and kind of competing and comparing notes and stuff, whatever it is, against one another.
You kind of answered my next question. It was going to be, what is your favorite part of the Dynasty experience? And it seems like scouting and looking at the future picks seems to be your favorite part. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. I really enjoy digging deep into the film, especially the wide receiver prospects. Just feel like you get a lot to watch and look for. So yeah, it's just something I enjoy. And being able to compete and spend time with friends, and something that brings us all together, is something that I really enjoy too. So I can't complain about that.
Speaking of wide receivers, is there a Randy Moss in this class? Because I see you're wearing a classic Minnesota Vikings Randy Moss jersey.
Style comparison, no. I don't know if we'll ever see another one. But there's a few wide receivers. I think Tet has kind of that similar size and length. I think Trey Harris is another prospect that's really fun and can stretch the field. So, comparison to Randy Moss, I think we were graced once and probably will never see one again. But there's some special wide receivers in this year's class too, I think.
Yeah, it's very solid depth, I think, in this class. I think we're going to be happy with a lot of the second round picks, and we're going to see where these guys are starting to go in this startup tonight. Tell us a little bit about you and your brother and what you guys are working on.
Yeah, both me and my brother Max is his name. We both, we're just kind of big into the film watching. Both really got into it starting last year. Um, Max actually a little bit before me, but we just really dig deep into the film, really try to break down different angles, some all 22 stuff, and then go through different spreadsheets and kind of, break down what we're seeing for me and when I'm watching wide receivers, as far as what the releases are looking like, stem angles, how they're setting up and manipulating defensive coverages, and then break points, catching, yards after the catch, all that sort of good stuff, and then kind of tearing that out so I'm able to, compare one wide receiver against another prospect and vice versa. And Max does a lot of that stuff as well, and he's spending a lot of time currently right now on the running backs, which I think he's put some stuff out on Twitter, but I'm really excited to hear more about what he thinks, because it's obviously a pretty loaded running back draft class as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure it's fun that it's your brother that you're doing this with, that you're, and I think that's fun. And I think that creates a little bit of extra competitiveness at it at the same point. Like Rich and I, my co host for this show, have known each other since the third grade. So there's always that extra bit of edge to everything that we do when it comes to our analysis on players and stuff like that. So I'm sure that happens with you and Max as well.
For sure. Yeah, just like you said, I think kind of I'm going to try to one up you, you're going to try to one up me. and if I can find somebody before you or something like that, where I've got a little bit of bragging rights, just makes it fun. But at the end of the day, I think it's just we're trying to help each other grow, and find prospects together. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's something I just really enjoy.
For sure, and I think that's the biggest thing also is like helping each other get better at each thing. Like Rich got on my case for being a big Dalton Kincaid guy. He said he's not him, he's not all this and that, and he was right. And I kept trying to preach the good word of Bucky Irving to him, and he didn't want to hear
There
it
you
at the time. So it happens, and you get better for it, like you mentioned. So tonight, you and I are going to be doing a startup draft. Rookies are going to be included. This is going to be really interesting to see where these guys are starting to go as um, as this happens. But let me pull up the sleeper board here on my screen. Hold on. There we go. And I'm going to put a message. Whoop. Did I screw something up here? We good? Hold on. Share. My mouse is messing up a little bit.
go.
Um, there we go. Okay. Is on the screen now? Okay, cool.
Yep.
I'm going to put a message out on the chat to let us everybody know um, to start in a second here, just so nobody's caught off guard, because that'll happen for
Yeah.
sure.
Right.
So right now you have the number 5 pick
Yep.
there. Your brother is number 4, so I'm sure again there's that competitive edge. I
Right.
am at the number 8 spot, and I feel like I do this to myself with those picks 7 through 9 for whatever reason. I know always seem to put myself there. I don't know why. Is 5 a good number for you? I believe you said it's your lucky number.
Yeah, there was no real significance to it. I took a brief look at the board, but like you said, five is just my favorite number. And actually, I think more times than not, I do prefer being kind of like you said in that 7, 8, 9, or on the just on the back half of the middle spot in most drafts. I think that's usually a good spot for me. So I don't mind the 8 spot, but 5 is cool too.
Yeah, I like to be somewhere, like you said, in that 7, 8, 9. But I also like to be at the end, even especially in this, not in this draft, but third round reversal
Sure.
also is fun. So I'm going to hit the start button here. It's going to be a super flex PPR half point tight end premium draft, and we're going to get started. Our good buddy Austin is on the clock at the 101. He is at Super Dynasty Bros. You see two Super Dynasty Bros in here with both these guys are awesome dudes. There could be a lot of chatter, I'm sure, going into this. We'll try to break this down as much as we can as we're going because there's going to be probably a lot happening at one time. So this could be a little rough at times. So what are you thinking is going to happen in the beginning? You think there's going to be a QB run?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably a good guess. I don't. I was look. The thing that caught me off guard was I think sleepers, just board in general is a little outdated. I can't
Mm,
imagine Stroud is going third. So if anybody's just following board or close to ADP, then yes, sleeper or quarterbacks probably will go a little early, but they probably are going to anyways in most cases.
yeah, I can imagine he's going to be down towards the middle or end part of the draft once the ADP, I guess, adjusts to itself.
Right.
Right now, I think obviously we're still in last year's ADP, and it looks like Austin is back in last year. Oh no, he came in and took
There he
Josh Allen
goes.
at the 101. There we go. That's the right pick in my opinion. What about you?
Yeah, I would agree. I think for a while I was Lamar over Josh, but Josh has proven the consistency and longevity at this point. It's hard to argue against.
For sure. Yeah. To be honest, you can't go wrong with either one of those quarterbacks. They're both fantasy studs and NFL studs. So I can't make an argument against either one. It's just going to be interesting where a certain, rookie of the year candidate goes, or rookie of the year winner. Sorry, not even a
Yes.
candidate anymore. He won it.
Yes.
So I want to see where he goes in this draft. Sober is on the clock. Let's see what he does here. Um, right now, I think that's a pretty chalk pick in Josh Allen, though.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think what's interesting about Daniels, kind of, as you can see, the ADP from last year where Stroud was,
Mhm.
I think the thing that really sets him apart is that rushing upside. Um, might might make it a little scarier bet with injury concerns, but that's just something that sets you apart as a quarterback in fantasy, especially as a dynasty asset. So I think that's one thing that Mr. Daniels has got going for him.
Yeah, for sure. There was a bit of a discussion going on in the Dynasty DNA Discord, and I see TJ's in here um, about Jaden Daniels and how about he's a little reckless with the football. I didn't realize that he had 5 fumbles or 6 fumbles, if I'm not mistaken. That's a lot for a running quarterback, it feels like. Patrick Mahomes off the board with the auto pick. So Burr, 102 with the auto pick. Not a great start, but I'm sure we'll bounce back here. Let's see. What do you think about the fun? Are you concerned about the fumbling with Jaden, or is that just kind of like what you're going to have to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to look. I think Lamar probably dealt with a lot of that same stuff earlier on, and it's just I don't know exactly if it's something that he's kind of always dealt with. I think he did have some concerns coming out of college, but um,
Mhm.
I think it's something you kind of live by the sword, die by the sword. You can certainly clean it up, and I think one thing that the Commanders have talked about working on him with is just getting to the ground faster and not taking those hits, and some of that can lead to just safer protection of the ball. So if that's something that they're working on, I would hope that protecting the ball comes with that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Sliding as well and getting out of bounds would need to be another big one. Thank you, Dynasty Wiz, for putting the next people on the draft board in the chat so maybe they can make their picks because looks like Big Mac is about to be an auto pick as well. Oh, at the buzzer, he comes in with the Jaden Daniels pick at the 1-3. And now
It
your
is.
brother is on the board at the 1-4. Um, how are you feeling? You have any predictions for us here?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
I
too late.
was going to say I'm sure he snipes Lamar there.
Yeah, that felt about right.
Um, this is kind of the spot when I had looked at the board originally. I mean, I figured that there would either be one of Lamar or Daniels, hopefully, or one of the big two wide receivers. I think C or not CD, excuse me, Jamar and Justin Jefferson are kind of in a tier of their own, and I actually have Jamar Chase as the one, so I'm going to take him here at 5 ahead of the next best QB.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that. I like that call there. Um, yeah, he is my wide receiver 3 right now, if I'm not mistaken. But I think that, or no, 2, sorry. Yeah, I think with that big 3 in general with Chase, Jefferson, and CD Lamb, and to be honest, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I don't think you can go wrong with either one of those guys, you know? See if I can.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think what sways it for me is just that connection with Joe Burrow. He's proven, and I think that's there to stay. So
Yeah, for
that's
sure. For sure.
I would have no argument either way. So
Let's see what Wiz does here. Wiz is a Ravens fan, so there is no Lamar Jackson hope for him in this draft. Um, Great dude. He and I argue a lot about prospects. Tried to give him the Bucky Irving conversation. He didn't want to hear it. Um, he's a big Dylan Gabriel guy, so maybe this will be his 1-6 pick. No, I'm kidding. I know he's not going to do that. But I do think Jamar Chase at 1-5, I think at this point where we are right now, I think that's a great pick.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think I would have no issue with Justin Jefferson there. I just feel like those two wide receivers, maybe a third, are in a tier above the next best quarterback.
Well, you're not going to be getting that stack because now Wiz has taken Joe Burrow, which you weren't going to get it anyway, I would imagine. Oh, geez. Come on, TJ. Did you have to do that? I mean, I thought I had Jalen Hurts in the bag here. I mean, I'm wearing my Philadelphia Eagles jersey currently because we are in the Super Bowl. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. It's not something I brought up yet. I meant to and forgot. But yeah, we're in the Super Bowl. He just took our quarterback. And I'm going to go with my wide receiver 1 in Dynasty in Justin Jefferson. And that is not what I meant to do. I meant to click this button, which will draft Justin Jefferson for me. I'm not used to the desktop site, to be honest with you.
I don't blame you. I'm not either.
This is they definitely have to update this. And I broke my mouse on my way down to the Senior Bowl, or the mouse pad, I guess you can call it. For some reason, it's really not as crisp as it was before it was in my suitcase. So
Sure.
we definitely have that issue there. Dynasty Degens is up. I believe that's Nerd Boy from Dynasty Degens who runs that account, and he is a great fantasy football mind in of himself. So I know he's probably got a lot going on right now. So we'll see what happens here with him. Um, we have tagged him a couple times, but um, any surprises? Is Jalen Hurts at the 1-7? Does that feel like a value to you? Does that feel like a reach or
Uh, you know, I've kind of gone back and forth on Hertz. I think I'm it gets to a point where you have to accept what he does for fantasy, as much as you may not like the player itself. I think he's he's limited in his upside as what he can do as a player at this point. I think we've kind of seen that with his passing attack. But he's obviously a clear threat to run in a lot of touchdowns, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. So,
no? That
as long as
doesn't.
he keeps doing that, he should be okay.
Looks like Nerd Boy just picked, and I can't see it. Oh, CJ Stroud. I know that was an auto pick, CJ Stroud. Yeah, that feels about right at this point. Um, I think Stroud has taken a bit of a hit, especially with his dynasty value. He was going into this year my QB 3-4. Him and Jalen were in a tier for me. Um, Unfortunately, Stroud, for whatever reason, regressed slightly. It could just be a sophomore slump, but we shall see if he could bounce back. What do you think? Are you concerned at all?
I'm not too concerned. I think the talent is there. I think when you've got playmakers like Nico Collins around you, that certainly helps.
Hmm.
I think he's got to grow a little bit as a quarterback, and just as far as not taking big sacks and getting the ball out on time. But the talent, the top level talent, is certainly there, and I think the Texans will try to find a way to continue to surround him with playmakers. So.
You know what? I'm just realizing on the top of my screen here on the Riverside, it says browser lacks system permission to share screen. It looks like my screen is shared. Um, I'm wondering if that's the case. CD Lamb goes off the board at the 110. Um, that's a good call there. How can I? Why is this not moving over? Sleeper, you really need to work on this. Are we only in a 10-person draft? I thought we were in 12. No, we had to have pinned
We're
12
in
picks.
12. We're in 12. Yeah. I
Why can't
just
I
think
see
it doesn't
everything? Oh, wow, everything's
mention
flying off the board now.
we went neighbors at 11, Gibbs 12, Amon Ra at the 201, and Brian Thomas at the 2-2.
Okay, yeah, you can't really. Wow, Brian Thomas at the 2-2. That's a huge swing right there in his draft capital for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take my RB1 of this class. And again, it did this to me. I don't know why it keeps doing that. But, and that's going to be Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer there.
Oh, Brock Bowers, TJ Blake from the top rope. I love that pick. Um, I love that pick. That is a, especially in tight end premium, whether it was tight end premium or not. I think that would have been my second pick or my second option, Brock Bowers. Um, in other drafts, I've taken Brock over Bijan, and I just wanted to see what this would look like with Bijan instead of Brock. So I really need to figure out why I can't see the whole board here.
Um,
This damn this damn screen ain't really helping me out. Well, you're on the board here, so or on the block that on the what you call here. So I ain't gonna talk your ear off for a second. I'm
I
gonna pull it up on my phone so I can see it better.
sure.
For one reason or another, it's not giving me the whole screen. Um, let's see.
I think I'm gonna roll with Herbert here and get my
That is
quarterback one
a
set.
yeah, that's a smash pick right there, in my opinion. I'm sorry to those watching. I wish I could show you the whole screen. I am not technologically advanced. What does this do? That made it worse. Um, hmm. Oh no, it actually made it better. We're good. We can see kind of now. Um, all right, so Justin Herbert went off the board. That's a great pick by you. What do you think about him going, possibly getting another wide receiver? Do you think that's going to upgrade his value? What do you think happens?
Yeah, I think I think he's again. I think it's more of a he's just proven at this point. I think he showed the upside. I think was his sophomore season was kind of his real breakout. But I think he's athletic enough to give you a safe enough rushing floor, and then that pairing with Lad, I expect him to get another high end wide receiver. It might not be somebody better than Lad, because Lad is the real deal, but just another playmaker in that offense, I think will do some work as well.
For sure. I think he really took a step forward in the second half of this season. Really started coming into his own. It's really going to. Oh, brother with a off the top rope pick in Ashton Genty. Um, so, what do you think about that? Well, let's get real quick into Herbert. He is in my top 8 of Dynasty QBs, and I think you got a really nice value where you got him in the second round. Um, but your brother took Genty. What do you think about that?
I like the pick. I don't mind where he took him, especially getting locking down Lamar in the first round. Not being so needy on a quarterback in the second helps. Um, and I think he's a pretty generational prospect. I think right now he's my Dino RB3. So
Hmm.
I don't know exactly where I have him, tier or overall wise, but I don't mind that spot positionally.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty solid gamble right there, especially with him being what the one, two, three, fourth running back off the board. Um, I think that's a pretty safe running back pick right there. He's out. I think. Well, it'd be crazy to think if he doesn't get first round capital at this point. Um, but that remains to be seen.
Right.
Trey McBride off the board, then Anthony Richardson. Sleeper. What he said. What do you mean by sleeper screen? 1 second. Can you? I can see the chat if that's what you mean. No. See the sleeper board. Odd. Let me put that chat back down. Let's see. Did we have anybody else go? Nico Collins after Anthony Richardson.
Yep, just Nico.
That's a good pick. Good pick. I think that team. Whoa, that was quick. Drake London, then Marvin Harrison. I absolutely love the Drake London pick. To be honest with you,
I
Will
totally
Lab
did too.
McConkey, another great pick. We're starting to move a little quicker now, so I need to keep my talking to the minimum, and we'll maybe save some of the conversation um, towards the end. But I just need to spread the good word of Drake London. What do you think?
Totally. I'm all in. I think I actually have Nico and Drake back to back in my ranking. So stacking those two with Josh Allen has to feel pretty good.
Yeah, that team at the beginning there with what's that Austin, man, he is starting to build a super team. I'm hoping not to turn this into an actual league, to be honest with you, because I don't want to face him. Uh, this is why you 3 round reversal. I get it. I understand. I should have probably done it, but I didn't think about it until it was too late again. I apologize. Um, have you done 3 round reversal?
I haven't. I've looked into it, but I haven't actually done it myself.
So to explain to people what that is, basically at the end of the second round, it flips back into the back end of the draft. Oh wow, good pick by your brother. Flips back to the end of the draft, and the end of the draft has now the 301, which kind of gives the advantage back to the end of the draft because the beginning of the draft gets the great picks at the beginning of the draft. I know that was a really confusing way of saying it. It evens the odds a little bit. It's just an easier way to put it. Drake May, though, great pick. Brees Hall in the third round to me seems like a great value at this point in time. I'm going
Yeah,
to have some options here.
I don't know exactly how to feel because Max has now sniped me on both Lamar and Drake May, but
Well,
um, I think Brees works there.
you bastard whiz. You knew exactly what you were doing there, and I think TJ's probably going to do the same thing to me. I think. I could be completely wrong here. Um, we'll see what he does. But yeah, I like that Saquon Barkley pick. That was one of my two options I had um, in my the back of my mind for this next pick. Rushing for 2,000 yards this season, staying on that team in general, um, still should be another top five finish. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't see how he doesn't as long as he's healthy.
Hmm. For sure. I want to see. Oh, I think I know what TJ does here. I have a strange feeling. If he doesn't, I'm going to be shocked.
The AJ Brown stack.
No, well, maybe. I feel like he's weighing his options. He's a big fan of one of the quarterbacks on this board.
Okay.
Um, we'll see if that's what he does. It would be shocking to me if he does it. And yeah, wow, that is not where I thought he was going to go, to be honest with you guys. I am going to go with AJ Brown, kind of still ignoring the quarterback position, which is a scary thought process in of itself. But I do think, you know, the quarterbacks, you're going to find good value in like the fourth, fifth round with a bunch of these guys. You know, Jordan Love just went at the 3-9 and Drake May at the 3-4. I don't think you can get much better than that at where you're taking them.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're not stacking them early, then it pays off to be patient, probably.
For sure. For sure. Let's see what he does here after FF Mad Dog, another great fantasy dynasty mind. Kyler Murray, that's a great pick. Rushing upside. I don't really know what happened. Oh, Emeka Ibuka off the board, the first rookie wide receiver. Wow. I love it though, to be honest with you. Absolutely love that pick. Um, right now, I've been going back and forth with Emeka being my wide receiver two of this class. So I'm not mad at that pick right there. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a little early for my liking. I am a fan of Emeka. I just think there's a few better rookies and a few better already established players left on the board. So
Mhm.
I would probably be targeting him a little later, but when there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the reason why I am higher on Emeka, he kind of gives me the prototype PPR monster that you kind of want in these formats because he kind of gives me like JSN vibes. A guy's going to probably get, um, 7 to 9 receptions a game. I think he's absolutely um, in that realm of possibility, a wide receiver, high end wide receiver too for fantasy football. So, whoa, JJ McCarthy off the board. There we go. We're cooking, baby. We're cooking a little bit of sauce. As a Minnesota Vikings fan, what do you feel about the Darnold McCarthy debate?
I honestly don't think there really needs to be much debate. I think Darnold has earned the right to test the market, and I don't think the Vikings really need to, give up whatever amount of money he's probably going to get because I think he deserves to play somewhere. I think he showed that he's at least certainly capable of starting somewhere with the right team around him. But I think you don't draft a quarterback like JJ McCarthy that high to sit him again.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Darnold will. I mean, we got Oakland as a possibility now. We have who are the other teams? Cleveland needs a quarterback. Who knows what they're going to do? So there's going to be plenty of opportunity for Darnold for the teams that don't either have the opportunity to take a quarterback or don't want to take one in the draft.
Right.
Bo Nix going right after JJ. That's a great pick right there, especially with what we've seen. Bo's proved me wrong. And I like this spot of Chris Olave at the 4-4. I'm not the biggest Olave guy, but where you got him, it seems like pretty decent value. This puts me on the clock, and I am going to go and take a quarterback. This might surprise you slightly, and that's going to be Baker Mayfield. Um, I could have probably waited another round, to be honest with you. Maybe, who knows? But Baker Mayfield's been a guy who's been top 12. He's staying on that team with Mike Evans, possibly Chris Godwin again, or they bring in somebody else, or um, uh, who was it? What's his name from Washington, the rookie? Um,
Oh,
uh,
Howell
what's that?
or not? Oh, the rookie from Washington.
Yeah.
Oh, um, McMillan.
Yeah, McMillan. I don't know why I blanked on his name there for a
Right.
minute. Yeah, McMillan. I know that's a guy you were high on last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Jared
Yep.
Goff. That was a guy I had in the back of my mind. But I think McLaughlin plays a really nice role in Tampa.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I actually really like the Baker pick there. I think he's probably who I would have picked next as far as QB, and Mike Evans is still hanging around. I'm a huge fan of McMillan. Obviously, they got Bucky there. Um, I can't imagine that Tampa is going to not be able to compete in that division for years to come still. So I actually really like that Baker pick.
Yeah, that division seems like it is kind of theirs for the taking. I think Atlanta is on the rise. I think Tampa is the strongest team in that division right now. I think Atlanta, if Michael Penix continues to develop, will give them a run for their money. Just might not be right away. I like the Brock Purdy pick there as well. Um, what do you think of Brock? Do you think he's the quarterback of the future in San Francisco? I know um, he's up for a contract soon, right? I believe this might be his
Yeah.
last year. Well, you're on the board here or on the clock here, so I'll let you draft.
Um, don't usually like to go two running backs this early, but
That feels like good value
I'm liking
there, to be
JT
honest with
there.
you. Yeah, I feel like that's great, a great pick. He started out slow. If you had him in your fantasy playoffs this year, he probably won you your championships because he just decided to go off at the end there. I know he was a little banged up coming
Yeah.
in, but just a really good end of the season for him.
Yeah, he feels like one of the running backs to me that are, not maybe not nearly as talented all around as the Saquons or Derrick Henrys of the world, but just that style of runner where just the pure rushing talent is there that will do wonders for his longevity in the league as long as he can stay relatively healthy.
Yeah. What do you? So back to the Purdy conversation, real quick. Do you think he gets another contract with San Fran?
Um, Honestly, I don't know. I think if they're willing to keep Shanahan around and some other members of the crew around, that it would probably make sense. I think he's a talented quarterback. I don't know if he, um, as we kind of when some of their playmakers go down, he's seems a little less effective. But I don't think there's a ton of other quarterbacks where you'd feel comfortable putting in that situation and having the success that he's had.
Yeah, for sure. And then your brother takes Sam Laporta, and I think that is some really nice value, especially. I think he again was it the rookie season Sam Laporta that we saw this year? No, but what did he finish at? Let me take a look at that real quick because I actually don't know off the top of my head. Um, I have the fantasy scores pulled up here. PPR.
7.5 PPR, it looks like.
Oh, I'm pulling it up right now. He was tight end 8 as total points and average. He was tight end 9, so he really doesn't have a far off drop in that spot. So I think that's a really nice pick by Max there, getting him where he got them, where he got him. JSN, that is a fantastic pick.
That's who I was debating between with JT as well.
Mm. Yeah, I don't think you could have gone wrong there, really. Ted McMillan off the board, finally. There we go. The everyone's consensus wide receiver one, finally off the board at the 412. That seems some really nice value there because he's going to get that first round capital. You would imagine, right?
Yeah, yep. I expect him to go fairly early.
Yeah, I think that's a smash pick there. Let's see who we got next. T. Higgins, possibly getting a new contract with a new team or getting franchise tagged and being really pissed off in Cincinnati. That's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I hope he kind of goes somewhere new and gets the opportunity to be a wide receiver one. But that remains to be seen what happens. Let's see. Where I think there's some really nice value still on the board here.
I have a hunch where he's gonna go here, but I don't know how. Oh, okay. Was
Was
not
that
thinking
it or
Rome.
no?
No, it wasn't Rome. I don't mind the pick at all. I'm a big Rome fan as well.
For
Um,
sure.
I just
I'm a big Rome guy as well. It was just a slow season for him, to be honest with you. Um, that offensive coaching staff was just awful.
yeah.
I kind of felt bad for him, but we'll see. You are on the clock now. Um, let's see what you do here.
Mm.
Right now, I'm scrolling for my life for my next pick.
I have a feeling I know where you're going, and I may be looking the same way, but
I hope not.
I
I sure as shit hope
think
not.
after my last pick,
Oh no, I don't think you're going my way. Now that you said
I'm
that,
gonna go. I'm
okay,
gonna go here,
that's a
and
great pick.
shout out Eagles.
Go Birds! I got my Devontae jersey on now.
Yep.
He is my favorite. Oh, Michael Penix. Wow. Devontae might be one of my favorite Eagles wide receivers of all time. Um, it's hard to, take T.O. out of it, to be honest, because he is, a top three greatest football or wide receiver ever. But Devontae just does everything so damn well. And getting him in the fifth round just seems like screaming value.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have him in pretty much every dynasty league. I try to draft him everywhere, every year. I think he's still probably one of the more underrated receivers in the league. And again, no knock to Jalen Hurts, but I think if he was on a different team with maybe a more passing heavy approach, that um, the league would really be able to see what he's capable of.
Did you imagine me taking Bucky Irving at the 5'8"?
That is exactly who I was thinking, to be honest.
Good, good. I'm glad
Yeah,
that I've become predictable in my ways. Um,
after yeah, after the love beforehand, I figured there might be Bucky pick coming up soon.
yeah, for sure. And I think this is around a good spot to take him where the other running backs have gone off the board. I would have to count and see where he's at in regards to running backs, but I really like that Luther Burden pick at the 5'10" by Stained. Um, I think I think Burden has some really nice upside as a yak monster.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting player as well. I've haven't actually he's one of the guys that I got to last, so I haven't dug in a ton to him yet. But I think he's a really solid player and probably will be in the league for a long time. So that itself is gonna have some staying power.
So right now we just had Travis Hunter go at the 5'12". This is one I'm having a lot of issues with. Like, what is Travis Hunter at the next level? Now, to be honest with you, I can't hate that pick if he plays wide receiver at all because, you know, he could be the wide receiver one of this class, right? But it just depends on what they decide to do with him at the NFL level because I'm not sure he can play both sides of the ball at the NFL. That would be a really tough task for a young kid. And, the speed of the game is different. The strength of the game is different than playing what the Pac 12, I believe Colorado is.
Yeah,
It's going to be a tough ask. Um, I'm actually going to go with a rookie here. And it's a rookie that I tweeted about earlier today. I don't know if you saw or not. Someone
yeah,
I'd be pretty comfortable taking around that 101 range, especially in superflex formats. I'm going to take him right here. That's Cam Ward, wide receiver out of Miami, or quarterback out of Miami. Sorry, I was just talking about wide receivers. It threw me off. But um, Cam Ward's more likely than not going to get that top five draft capital in the NFL.
yeah.
So getting him in the sixth round to pair him with a quarterback who already is successful at the NFL level, I feel pretty good with that.
Yeah, totally. I think Cam Ward has some um, things to his game that can really break the game for fantasy. Just a pretty deep ball, accurate pretty much all over the field, and again athletic enough, which we talked about with a few of these quarterbacks, which I think um, doesn't shouldn't go I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it doesn't go unnoticed. If you can rush for 200 yards and two touchdowns, that's a lot safer floor than, the Jared Goffs of the world. So
For sure. And the my favorite thing about watching Cam Ward is, and it's also one of the scariest things, is him getting blitzed seems to like not scare him whatsoever. Like this dude would be completely fine in a scary movie, to be honest with you. Like Jason Voorhees chasing him, no fear whatsoever, just ready to make the throw at all times. He's just a fun quarterback to watch, and he's got some really nice. Tyler Warren in the Superflex tight end premium, great pick. That is whiz, right? Yep, great pick there. But I can't speak enough how excited I am to see Cam Ward at the next level.
yeah, I think he'll be a really really fun player. His tape is really fun to watch.
Let's see what you do here. I don't want to talk your ear off while you're on the, because I don't want to screw you up.
Thinking, just making sure they got the right player here. Have to scroll a ways. All right.
Trey Harris. Now, this is somebody you mentioned in the beginning of the show. Is this somebody you're really high on?
Yeah, Trey Harris is actually my wide receiver one, and I think he's
Wow.
is
Okay.
probably you're hearing it here first. I don't know if I've Max may be the only other person I've shared that information with, but I think he's got that prototypical NFL build. Can play inside and outside. Absolutely destroys man coverage, press coverage. His yards per out run is phenomenal. Um, he's got some holes to his game, but I don't think they're detrimental to his longevity in his career in the league. I think he's just a special talent, and his resume kind of speaks for itself. What he was doing this year before he got injured.
Yeah, I can't say he's my wide receiver one of the class, but he is one of my favorite wide receivers of the class,
Sure.
if that makes sense. You mentioned it getting off man coverage. He's just too damn strong. Um, Dynasty, Big Mac, uh, our buddy over at Super Dynasty Bros, says Nico Collins, that basically he's comparing him to Trey Harris, is what it seems like. And to be honest, that feels like a really nice comp for Trey. We are flying now all of a sudden.
Yeah,
Um,
I can't say I've actually thought of that comp, but now that he says that, I can totally see it. And if he were to turn into Nico Collins, I would be loving that. 'Cause
Ecstatic.
Nico is the real deal.
For sure. Yeah, you really can't go wrong with Nico Collins as a comp for pretty much any wide receiver. Feels pretty high praise. I gotta do something here. I like my team so far, but especially with having Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown and Bijan, I feel pretty confident at pretty much whatever comes my way at this point. Ooh, I like that Travion Henderson pick at the 6'10 too as well. Who was that? That was Mac again. Jeez, I can't. I got to stop loving him in this episode. Just can't continue to happen. Really nice pick for him. This is
Yeah,
your brother
he's
on
been
the
a really
platform.
nice team.
I had to pull it up on my phone, so if you see me looking up and down, I'm like getting a little like a dog. Like I got to
Yep,
keep looking, literally like a dynasty dog,
yep.
because it's easier to see on my phone than it is on the computer. But that's not going to work for the audience. Probably what our 7 viewers right now. Um, I'm sure they're loving all of this.
All
Oh no,
right.
we have more than 7 viewers. We have 100. Holy hell! Holy hell! Didn't expect that. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Did not expect you all to be here. Welcome aboard. Um, I'm, I just got really nervous there because I expected like 7 people.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, for
Welcome.
sure. Uh, but you're on the board here. Are you going to stack another wide receiver?
I yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to. I Looking back on, it, I probably should have snagged the second quarterback a little sooner. Um,
At
I'm
this
just
point, if you don't take a wide receiver from the SEC, I'm going to be pretty upset because you have an LSU wide receiver, an Alabama wide receiver, and an Ole
um,
Miss wide receiver.
can I find one? Uh, I might just have. I like this. We talked a little bit about
Okay, yeah.
Hayden
He
Daniels and
was
his outlook.
That was my one of the two options I have in my brain right now. That's a great pick. Scary Terry and Jaden Daniels. I don't think even if they add in another option on that team, I'm not afraid of Terry losing that much value. He's been an alpha wide receiver, just not getting the recognition.
Right. And honestly, if I'm being honest, I wouldn't mind them adding another, wide receiver too, somebody who can compete for more targets, take some of that coverage away from Terry in a defense that's already going to have a lot of attention focused on Jaden. I think that's going to make everybody's lives easier.
For sure, for sure. I have one wide receiver in mind here for my next pick. Let's see if TJ decides to snipe me here. I hope not. The last draft that he and I were in together, we kind of did this to each other a few times. So I'm hoping he doesn't do it here. And I think that's why he put himself in front of me um, to do this on purpose, to give me this little bit of extra stress I got going on. So please, TJ, do not do what I'm hoping you will not do.
What do they say? Pressure makes diamonds.
Well, pressure makes me vomit because I am a high anxiety person. And that son of a gun did it. He took exactly who I was hoping for after you took Terry McLaurin. TJ, you are no longer on my Christmas list. And I wish that you lose all your fantasy championships this year for this monstrosity you just did to me. Um, you know what? Screw it. If I feel pretty good about this. If Cam Ward does not turn out to be what I hope he's going to be, I might as well get a pretty safe, if healthy, quarterback, and that's going to be Tua. Tua in the seventh round feels like, geez, that should have happened probably a few rounds ago, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I was looking to pick at my last pick, and figured if I was punting quarterback, I might as well keep punting. So that's the only reason I didn't pick him.
Yeah, and I think when Tua's healthy, like we mentioned, he started to show some signs. It's just the offense in general couldn't get going
Yeah,
when he came back from his injuries. Um, it's just a shame. The guy really just has like the worst luck in all of football.
yeah. No, I totally agree. I don't think it was much of a fault to his. Like you said, the offense couldn't get going, and um, I hope that he can play injury free, concussion free football for as long as he can, because I love watching a lefty football or lefty quarterback throw the ball, and him Waddle and Tyreek had a pretty special connection going. So to see him be able to do some stuff like that again would be fun.
Now, are you left-handed? Is that why you
I'm
enjoy it?
I'm not, but there's just something about seeing the uniqueness, I think, that really is interesting.
Yeah, for sure. My wife is left-handed, and I make fun of her constantly. We can't sit next to each other at dinner
Yep.
tables because I'm right-handed and she's left-handed. I have taught myself to eat like with my left hand, so it works out well for us. But yeah, I think he's a very fun quarterback as well. Xavier Worthy at the 7-Eleven. Not where you would get your taquitos at midnight with 7-Eleven, but pick 7-Eleven is Xavier Worthy, and I really like Xavier Worthy still. Um, I just would like to see him get a little bit more volume.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Hopefully, I don't want to. I want to say that Hollywood is a free agent again this year. Um,
I think they only gave him like a 1 year deal. I
yeah,
think.
that's what I thought. And then obviously Rushy is going to be still recovering,
Mhm.
or
From getting his legs taken out by his
yeah,
own teammate.
and then probably is facing a suspension on top of that. So I think uh, he should be in for an increased role, and that's kind of the hope that, like you said, most dynasty owners are looking for him to take.
Now, if Soup, I can't see his full name here. I just see Soup. If his running backs hit with Jameer Gibbs has already hit, but Amarian Hampton and Quinshad Judkins, this could be a juggernaut of a running back room. I'm real high on Amarian Hampton. He's my running back two of the class, and then Quinshad Judkins. He's my running back four as of right now, and both of those dudes are powerhouse backs. If both those dudes hit, that could be a real issue, that team right there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be, just looking at that team. I'm thinking how fun it would be to see, either Hampton or Judkins paired with Gibbs in real life. I know that the Lions obviously signed Monty, I think, to a 2-year extension mid-season,
Mhm.
so highly unlikely that they're going to be drafting a running back or at least spending capital to draft a running back. But um, you know, another power running back, like you said, with alongside Gibbs, another young guy would be really fun.
Yeah, Soup has the youngest team on the board. I am like 95% sure of that
Yeah, no
at
doubt.
this point. But it's a fun team. Like it's a team of guys that I'm pretty much high on, all of them. TJ Hawkinson, man, I like that pick too. Where you got him. Again, I would have. I mean, Dalton Kincaid was taken at an auto pick, but you could easily swap them two out, in my opinion, at this point.
Yeah, I think Hawkinson's a great pick. I like don't mind Kincaid there. I don't know much about Loveland. I haven't got too far into my other tight end prospects, but I've heard good things about him.
Yeah, I like Colson Loveland. He's my tight end three. I screwed up. I forgot I wanted to take Derrick Henry, but I saw all the tight ends go off the board and I panicked. Um, yeah, I did that one to myself. I do love Mark Andrews though. I feel like he still is going to give us a couple more years of consistency. So that's a great pick by TJ, and a misstep by me, which doesn't happen too often. But when you're running a show, doing a draft, looking at two screens, just drank a bunch of caffeine, it really is hard to focus on one section.
Yeah, I don't blame you whatsoever. And like you said, I Mark Andrews, tried and true. I think it's a good pick.
And I needed a tight end too.
Yep.
Tucker Craft, a riser for sure. Um, I was of the Musgrave team. I've been a Luke Musgrave guy. Again, he just can't stay healthy, and he had those issues in college. And Tucker Craft kind of took the reins this year and ran with it. I
Yeah,
like that pick.
he looked great. I was in the same boat as you as well. I was a big Musgrave fan. Thought he was going to turn out, and I think or not the Crafts, the Packers are using Kraft well. Really maximizing getting the ball in his hands in space and just letting him torture defenders in space. He looks like an absolute nightmare to tackle, and he had, like you said, a fantastic season.
Yeah, and I think you almost said Kraft because Green Bay is cheese. There's Kraft cheese, Kraft mac and cheese. I get it. It's the perfect play on words for a player to be playing in Green Bay with the name Kraft. So I could see that happening to me
Yeah.
too. Is the Packers your most hated rival?
Um. Yes and no. I think I'm at a point with football that especially with playing Dynasty, that I have shares of people on every team where it's like I have at least some vested rooting interest in the teams. I wouldn't say I really ever root for the Packers, but there's certainly players on the team. I don't know if you remember, but for a while I was banging the drum pretty hard for Dontavian Wicks. And
Oh,
there's a few other guys on the Packers that I like, but I don't think you'll ever catch me rooting for the team themselves.
yeah, I get that for sure. Um, Dontavian Wicks really caught some strays on the internet the past couple of days. I don't know if you saw that. Josh Jacobs did an interview down at the Super Bowl, basically saying they need an alpha wide receiver. He retweeted it with a bunch of laughing emojis and a thumbs down emoji. And then Underdog Fantasy out of nowhere, like RKO out of nowhere, hit him with the uh, stats of his drops and everything like that. I'm like, damn, did you have to do that to this poor guy?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's always funny watching, like you said, one of those big accounts just power bombing a professional athlete. But
That's so messed up,
yeah,
but
it's
hilarious at the same time.
Wicks
I was
drives
not a
me
big
insane.
Wix guy, to be honest with you, though. Um, I think that room in general is just too hard to predict at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah, Sam Darnold, speaking of the Minnesota Vikings, off the board. Really nice pick there at the 9-3. Like you mentioned earlier, he's going to get another opportunity somewhere.
Yeah. That was actually who I was hoping would fall back to me. I didn't notice there was another team that was also struggling for QBs, but I think that's a really good pick. Like you said, probably if anything, getting him for a 1 year rental in the ninth round feels real good.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I am not mad at that at all. Um, listen, if you wait on quarterbacks, he's the perfect wait, especially if his team is good enough, like it is right now. Ladd, JSN, T. Higgins, McBride. I can't see the top there on that screen. Jaden Daniels. If you have a
Yeah,
guy like Jaden Daniels as your QB1, you could pretty much have me out there as your QB2 and feel pretty safe because he's going to give you two quarterback scores anyway.
right. Yep. And
Gino. I saw a thing today where they were talking to the coach for Seattle, whose name is escaping me right now. And he said that, I don't understand why people think we're going to be in the market for a quarterback. Gino's our guy. And I mean, listen, he had a decent season. The offensive line kind of crapped out. They dealt with their center just randomly retiring in the middle of the season,
yeah,
which is odd. And I think Gino, if he could stay healthy, if that offensive line, I think that's what they're going to draft, hopefully, is offensive line, and just keep feeding JSN and DK Metcalf. That team could be pretty solid.
yeah, I fully agree. I think, like you said, that offensive line is the area that needs focus. They're really not in a position, I don't feel like, to spend high capital on a quarterback. I don't mind them going late round to get a flyer or something, but I think Gino's been good, and he's been good for 2 3 years now. And they've clearly got some playmakers around them. I think their running back group is good. JSN and DK is a great duo, so they're well set up, I think.
I'm going to go with as of right now, wide receiver two on his team. If he could go somewhere else, he could still be a high end two, or maybe even a 1A, 1B. That's going to be Chris Godwin. Stack him with Baker Mayfield, and I feel pretty good about that.
I really like that pick. I think that talent, you bet on the talent there.
As my wide receiver three too, with AJ Brown and Justin Jefferson, that feels pretty good. And I've got enough quarterback to move one if I have to get some more wide receivers. I think.
Yeah, yeah,
See, this is the thing. This is the problem with mocks. I start playing out this team would look like if this was a real thing, and I already start planning out trades in my head, and I got to turn that off because there's no point.
right. I totally agree. I mean, there's a couple. I mean, I feel like my brother has sniped me a few times at this point. He knows a lot of the players I like, but there's some good teams. A lot of these guys have drafted well.
For
Um,
sure. This has been a very impressive draft. David Montgomery was a guy I was looking at too, so I like that
yeah,
pick as well.
yeah, huge Monty fan over here, so
Hmm.
don't mind that at all.
Let's see what FF Mad Dog here does. I actually should have mentioned, are you from Minnesota?
Yep, born and raised, went to college here, living here still. So I
Nice.
think the plan is to stay here for the time being.
For sure. For sure. Is that never giving up on Minnesota thing, especially with that team, always been so close, just can't finish it out. I'm not mocking. The Eagles were there forever. We finally got
Yeah,
over the hump. I imagine Minnesota will get there soon with Kevin
good.
O'Connell as their quarterback or as their coach.
Yeah, totally. I think you got to have a good structure in place, and I think that um, we've got the foundation, and it's just a matter of putting the pieces together.
You think they draft a running back?
Yeah, I think at some point they have to. I was actually listening to a different podcast today that talked about them trading back out of the first and just stacking up draft picks, and with the depth of the class, grabbing somebody later. It seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too. I think they could get themselves a nice compliment to Aaron Jones, who I still really like. He's actually like one of my favorite running backs in the league, just a very consistent dude.
Yeah,
Seems like a fun dude too.
yeah,
Um, so I like him, but I think they could add you bastard, FF Mad Dog. I love Harold Fannin Jr. That wasn't going to be my pick here, but he was a conversation. in my brain. Um, I am just so pissed at that pick right there. But I'm going to go with another big my guy of mine, not from this class, just in fantasy football in general, because I just think he gives you a very safe floor. And if I have to throw him in my flex, I'm pretty happy with that. This is going to be Khalil Shakir, wide receiver from Buffalo.
I like that pick a lot. I think he's a great selection, great wide receiver. Like you said, with kind of the Egbuka JSN prototype, where they're they're un, they're they're always going to be underappreciated.
Hmm.
They're never going to be the guys that wow you. Um, but there's a place for guys who are just racking up consistent PPR points and just the rock of their team. And Josh Allen loves the guy, so I think that's a
Yeah,
good.
for sure he does. For sure he does. He's just a dude. What's that old cliche? Like a lunch pail guy, scrappy
Yeah,
dude, gets it done. Big fan of Khalil Shakir. I liked him coming out of Boise. That was actually my first year in Dynasty. He was actually one of my first picks ever in
wow.
the fourth round, I believe. First ever rookie picks, for that matter. So I have a special place in my heart for Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, I mean that's an awesome hit too. Fourth round Khalil Shakir, that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And then I flipped him for Kadarius Tony plus like a second. The second was nice. The
Yep.
Tony thing was awful.
Yeah.
Um, but then I got him back for Tony in a fourth. I got Khalil Shakir back.
I mean, that's the dynasty landscape. You go and get the players you think you need, and then sometimes they just end up making their way back to you.
If they love you, they come back. Or what's that old love cliche or whatever?
It's something like that, right? The- if you love something enough, it'll always come.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, I am not very good at um, the love references, apparently,
Word games.
unless it's Jordan Love.
Oh man,
We're in the tough spot right now. We're in the last, what,
yeah.
2.5 rounds?
Oh wow, Chuba went this late. I didn't even see that. That's crazy good. I
Yeah, I
think.
think that's a guy who, the ADP hasn't caught up yet,
No.
and somebody got really nice value.
All right, I'm kind of stuck with this guy, Brian Robinson.
That's like, I'm just stuck with this guy.
I don't like the player. I don't know if the situation is necessarily ideal for fantasy um, highs, but I think the player's good, and he should find enough goal line touches that he can find some success.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he's just going to be a running back two going forward also, even for his team, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. He's an injury away from just getting the boatload of carries.
Yeah. Yep. Totally. I don't know. Again, I think Eckler may or may not be under contract there this year. But if not, I would expect them to draft a running back at some point,
Yeah, for
like
sure,
most
especially
other
with how
teams
old,
will. So
yeah, especially with how old Eckler is you
yeah.
know Cam Scadaboo by your brother, good pick. This is kind of where you want to start taking your dart throws for sure. Um, and I think Scadabo, he held out of the Senior Bowl, so that leads me to believe he has some information out there that his draft stock is pretty good. He's not going to risk it, so I was interested to see that.
Yeah, I would have been real excited to see how he looked compared to some of those other guys at the Senior Bowl. But from what I've seen, um, he's just a freak. I don't want to say I was early on getting to him. I never ended up getting anything out with him, but I watched a few Arizona State games pretty early this year. It was like this guy just is a little different than everybody else.
Mm, for sure. Jalen McMillan, there's your guy off the
Yep.
board uh, by Dynasty Mac again. I'm hoping that he's wrong there. I'm hoping Chris Godwin is the continued second fiddle there. Jerry Judy, I think that's an awesome pick. And I think one of the most, geez, that just really flew. That whole section just keeps flying. And Jacoby Myers, again, like if you look at it, just like a wide receiver two every single year. It's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, he's one of those guys you can kind of, fill in the Shakir role. Um, doesn't necessarily have the same quarterback play as the rest of those guys. It's just slot winners who are good route runners, but as consistent as all of them. Oh, there's Harvey,
Oh, you bastard. Is
right
that
from next.
oh. Yeah, I was hoping I was gonna get him in the last round and just be happy,
Oh,
but I can't have happiness in this life apparently.
that's leave it to Max to come in here and ruin our fun.
I was gonna see which one of us got to him first, like the
Yeah,
conversation we had earlier, but just can't happen. It's fine. I'm not gonna cry about it.
I can't wait to see it. Like I said earlier, I haven't got too far into my actual film grades and prospect rankings for running backs, but um, obviously RJ Harvey has been my favorite for quite some time now. Won't be my RB1, but he'll be pretty high, and I just the player is hard not to love.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm right there with you when it comes to him. Again, uh, I hate you now, Jalen Royals. Just another good pick. Of course, Wiz with the Dylan Gabriel
There
after I
it
took
is.
him earlier about it. It's very on brand Wiz pick right there. Again, if I think, listen, if he goes to the right spot, the right situation, maybe I'll be wrong again, like I was with Bo Nix, because he's a guy who plays very similar to Bo, pretty athletic, decent arm, ball comes out quickly. If that's what happens with him, if he can work within an offense like that, Denver offense, he might be all right. It's just that 5'10" doesn't do him any favors.
Right. That yeah, like you said, that frame is less than ideal. I saw some um, numbers, I think, as far as how fast he was spinning the ball at the Senior Bowl. I was like, holy heck,
Yeah,
that's
someone said like 70 some odd miles per hour.
yeah. It true. Like I was like, this can't be right. So I don't know. Maybe I'll dig into that a little bit more. But does have a rocket behind him. So um, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Like you said, I think if he's in the right spot, he could make some noise.
Hmm. All right, in my brain now, the internal fight is on between two running backs. Screw it. I'm gonna go with the younger guy just in case. Zach Charbonnet. I think it's pretty, cut and dry at this point that we're having some issues with Ken Walker staying healthy.
Yeah.
Uh, I think Zach Charbonnet is a very talented running back. I think he's really good in between the tackles. I think he's a better pass catcher than Ken Walker. He just doesn't have the explosiveness that Ken Walker has.
Yeah, totally. I think there's a place for him in a lot of offenses. So if it's not, I think he's still in Seattle at least another year, if not two, under contract. Um, his type of style just seems to fit kind of today's game where, if he's not always going to be the 1A, he'll be a high usage 1B. And again, there's a spot for that in Dynasty.
For sure. For sure. I kind of hope he gets another landing spot sooner rather than later, or another spot in general.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Or maybe Ken Walker gets moved. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. I mean, either or, I think would be good, and I think it would benefit Ken too to just get some new scenery. I think a talented back who's obviously got his own limitations, but health being the number one, it seems like at this point. But um, both talented backs that seem, for fantasy purposes, to eat into each other's production.
Yeah, it's a damn shame too. Like
Yeah,
they really are just fun,
they
fun
are.
running. Looks like we might have Jalen Milrow. That is whether that's an auto pick or not, and it looks like it may have been, or unless he had him, you know, put there on purpose. I think that's a really nice dart throw pick there if he gets his shot.
Yeah, I don't. Again, I don't know a ton about Milrow. I get a little bit of the Anthony Richardson vibes, but mm, he's got more experience. So I don't. If if Anthony Richardson's not getting it done, um, I don't know if somebody who's played in the SEC who seems like he's played the best competition and has got some pretty glaring holes on film. But it can be a game breaker on the ground. It'll be interesting.
I'm pissed now that Aaron Jones just went. That hurts my heart. Um, Screw it. I'm going to go with one of my guys still in the top 10 of my running back room or my running back ranks right now. Um, and he just intangible wise really impressed me at the Senior Bowl, and that's going to be Damian Martinez, Miami. Um, First dude on the field every single day. I can't speak enough to how much that impresses me because that's something we don't get to see as like fantasy analysts or
Right.
dynasty rookie tape watchers. Um, is a guy who shows up to work every single day, first one there, last one to leave, just getting ready to be trying to be the best at their position, and I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw that you tweeted that out, and I saw a couple other people had also kind of reposted around. That's one of, like you said, one of those attributes that's just not talked about enough, and to see somebody who has that is just kind of like that's seems like he's not consciously thinking about it, right? It's just his lifestyle at this point. That's
Mhm.
just who he is. Um, those are the guys you want, on your team and in your locker room. And you can probably bet on him to at least make somewhat of an impact on the team.
For sure. Now, Wiz again, Xavier Restrepo, great pick. TJ with Ricky Pearsall, I think is a very solid pick, especially with the declining of Debo Samuel and a little bit of what we saw at the end of the season with Ricky. I think that's a great pick there in the 12th round. Let's see what you do.
Right. Finish this. I think I've got everything. Two QBs. Yeah.
I'll trade you one.
Yeah.
That's a nice pick. Josh Downs, the 12-8, the last pick of your draft. I like that pick.
Yeah. We'll just keep stacking receivers, I guess. I mean, we've got two rookies. Downs and Smitty are pretty young. Chase is young, so I like that wide receiver core. Gives me some flexibility. If I need to move one, obviously a little weaker elsewhere, but uh, I think that wide receiver core will carry me a ways.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Chase, you have an elite guy, and then you have Devontae and Terry McLaurin, who steady Eddie guys, and then Josh Downs, too, when healthy, steady Eddie. Um, it's just what you're going to get from Trey and Royals. And I think Royals is going to be one of those guys that is a steady Eddie if I'm if I'm putting my money on it.
Yeah, totally. I can't wait to get into um, Royals. I got some pretty spicy takes on him, so I'm excited
Do you
to
want to
get
put
those out.
them, or you know what? You already broke some news on this. I'll let you break that elsewhere if you'd like to, because you broke the Trey Harris stuff.
Yeah. I'm probably not quite ready to wrap up where I've got him finalized, but I can confidently say it's much higher than where he's being looked at consensus right now.
I can't wait to hear that. My good buddy Andy Pham, you can follow him on Twitter. He's been, preaching the good word about Royals, and I finally turned on the film and got to see him down at the Senior Bowl and seeing exactly what he was talking about. Just a damn good wide receiver.
Yeah,
And that,
I heard today that he had mentioned to somebody too at the Senior Bowl that he was 85-90% wasn't quite fully healthy. I was like, that's I don't know whether that's a good thing or bad thing, but he looked pretty good at the Senior Bowl. So if he wasn't fully healthy, um, I'd say the sky's the limit.
yeah, that's exactly what I was saying this whole time. If you're giving me what you gave me at 80 or 85%, and you were winning your one-on-one drills pretty consistently, I
Yeah.
don't want to see what you look like at 100%. That's pretty terrifying.
Right. Totally.
Hold on, I'm sending out the old thanks all message. You're all you are all wonderful people. But well, that'll do it for that draft. Let's kind of go over the teams here if you want. Is there a team other than yours that stands out to you?
Um,
Let me pull up. Hold
you
on, let me
know,
scroll it up a little bit here.
if I'm just looking at the starts, if I'm not getting too deep into these teams, I think that team in the one spot, Austin's pretty good. It's the first three rounds are about as good as you can ask for with Josh, Nico, and Drake London, and then stacking Ted and Rasheed Rice behind them. Um, that's just a fantastic start through five. I also, what one was I looking at? I really liked. Oh yeah, well yours is fantastic. Justin Jefferson, Bijan, AJ Baker, Bucky. Yeah, yours is great. And then
Thank you.
the 11 spot with Neighbors, Thomas, Kyler, JJ. I thought that was a really interesting start. I like those young bucks at wide receiver.
For sure. I'm trying to look at it now. My screen's acting up. I really like TJ's draft with Jalen Hurts, Brock Bowers, Garrett Wilson, Jared Goff, and Kyron, and then bringing in like a guy like Mike Evans, Derrick Henry, and Cortland Sutton.
Yeah,
I don't think you can get much better of a starting lineup than that. He locked in, a top five QB, give or take, right?
yeah,
The number one dynasty tight end in fantasy football, and Brock Bowers. Again, I love saying it, Steady Eddie, Jared Goff, and one of the most underappreciated wide receivers ever in history, in Mike Evans. I think that's just a really good way to solidify that. And like you mentioned, that team with Neighbors, Thomas, DJ Moore, and Worthy, FF Mad Dogs team, that one jumps out as well. The biggest question mark I have for this team really is JJ McCarthy, but I like, you know, Kyler, if he can bounce back, um, could be a good enough QB1 to where if JJ just ends up being just a decent QB2,
hmm,
he might be all right. But his wide receiver room is just filthy,
yeah,
absolutely filthy.
yes.
Trying to think. Your brother pissed me off a few times, so I'm not going to give him any flowers. Um,
I think the team in the three spot is kind of sneaky as well with Daniels, McBride, Ladd, and JSN start. I really
that's what
like
I was just looking at as well.
that. I think that's a really sneaky good team.
And that is Jaden Daniels, Trey McBride, Lad McConkey, JSN, T. Higgins, Travion Henderson, Caleb Johnson, Sam Darnold, who we mentioned,
Yep.
Devin Neal way down there. And I think Devin Neal is probably going to get some decent draft capital, um, in my opinion.
Yep.
Uh, let me turn off. Is there any other teams or players you want to talk about here?
No, I mean I think like we kind of mentioned during the draft, it seemed like everybody kind of had a pretty good grasp of who they were targeting. It seems pretty well balanced. Um, I think most of the rookies um, went kind of where I expected. Maybe outside of I think Egbuka was the one that really stood out at the 312. Looks like. Um, Nonetheless, a good player. I just didn't expect him to go that high. So I think there's some really good teams out there. It looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm excited to see where Emeka goes in the NFL draft. I think he's going to be a mid first round pick, in my opinion. And I know you have some scouting to do for sure on him, I imagine. Um, but is there anyone that maybe I haven't watched yet that you want to mention? Rookie, wide receiver, or running? I know you said you really like watching the wide receivers. So is there a
Yeah.
guy?
One guy I haven't seen talked about really much of it at all. I know his teammate has gotten some love. Ty Felton, I think you've talked about quite a bit, but his teammate Caden Prather. Again, I haven't watched a ton of his film. I've gotten a little bit more into Ty Felton's, but um, the little bit I have watched of Prather was really solid. Good route runner, twitchy athlete, some good stuff after the catch. So I'm interested to dig in more, but I haven't really seen anybody talk about him. I don't think.
Yeah, for sure. That is, you brought him up. We were talking about it the other day, and I was like, huh, that's somebody I haven't watched yet, and that's somebody that I haven't even thought to look into yet. Um, I think I definitely got to turn on the film there because I really like Ty Felton, and if his teammate is, just as good or better, I think that's kind of what you were hinting to a little bit, right?
Yeah,
Uh, Very interesting to see what that looks like.
yeah, and I think they're both good receivers, so it'll be interesting to kind of see where they fall in the draft, and what teams got expected for them.
You think he's like a day three kind of sleeper, maybe?
Yeah, again, I don't think he's got quite the production profile. I had seen some, I think, yards per route run metrics that he was pretty low in. So if there's teams that are heavy into the analytics, I don't know if they're going to love him. But um, from what I've seen on film, his stuff is pretty solid. So
Awesome.
yeah, probably doesn't sneak into day two, day three, or later guy, but I think he's got the talent to make some noise.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check him out soon. So before we let you go here, tell us a little bit of where they can find you, what you got going on, and then we'll get you on out of here.
Yeah, again, I appreciate you for having me. If you guys are interested in what I'm working on, I do a lot of just wide receiver work, college prospect film study, and I like to pump out a lot of different prospect ranks and just film review on my Twitter. You can find me at Alex Crowe FFB. Um, and yeah, again, thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on. It was really fun to rip through a mock draft with you.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was really fun having you on and going through our first startup mock draft of the year going into 2025, which is crazy to think about that we're already looking um, towards next season already. But that is Dynasty. It never sleeps.
Yeah,
And soon I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing a rookie mock draft at some point. But this week was one of those weeks coming home from the Senior Bowl, tired, went back to work. I didn't really want to put a whole lot of thought process in anything. So I like, yeah, startup mock seems about right.
yeah,
But I really appreciate you jumping on with me and giving some good information.
yeah. Thank you again. I appreciate it, and can't wait to hear more about what you think of some of the guys too.
All right, well, this will be it for the Dynasty Dogs. I actually forgot to mention, I plan on making this draft not only an episode of the Dynasty Dogs, I plan on kind of breaking it down in an article for Toilets of Titles as well. That's going to probably take me a little bit of time. I'm not the greatest writer in the world, but again, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate everybody for checking this out. And that'll be it for the Dynasty Dogs. We will see you guys next week. Have a good night. And we're off, I think. Yep.